This is the early afternoon of the 6th of August, 2024. I came across this clip on Gateway Pundit, published on August the 6th, by guest contributor. Able child, crime scene compromised. Alleged assassin's autopsy is being withheld. What's going on? On August 2nd, many news outlets reported that the autopsy of Thomas Matthew Crook has been released by the Butler County Coroner's Office. The fact is that mainstream media is late to the party, and Butler County Coroner's Office released the cause and manner of death of Thomas Matthew Crook, the able child, nearly 2 weeks earlier, on July 21st. Unfortunately, what the mainstream media doesn't understand is that the cause and manner of death is not an autopsy, and although an autopsy has already been conducted on the alleged body of Thomas Matthew Crook, the results of that autopsy may never see the light of day. That's right. Along with so many other aspects of this investigation, the public may never get to know the details of the alleged assassination autopsy. And while the autopsy shuffle is interesting, the question regarding chain of custody of the body that needs to be asked of the Butler County Coroner, William F. Young III, are even more compelling. So let's first recap the cause of the presently missing autopsy. Able child contacted the Allegheny County Coroner Medical Examiner's office to obtain a copy of the autopsy. And here's what we learned. According to the news reports, apparently at some point early Sunday morning, July 14th, the alleged shooter's body was transferred to the Allegheny County Medical Examiner's office for autopsy. By what transportation did the Butler County Coroner use? Nobody knows. The autopsy was conducted. No one will say when. And the autopsy was completed. No one knows when. The results were sent to the coroner's office in Butler County. Nobody knows the states. Here's where the results of the autopsy being publicly released gets muddled. Apparently, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania mandates that the Allegheny County must release full autopsy reports to journalists and the public. Yeah, not so fast. When requested by able child, the Allegheny County Medical Examiner's Office refused to release the autopsy because, wait for it, the autopsy was completed and commissioned, paid for by the Butler County, and all information relating to the case must go through Butler County. Huh? Because Butler County paid for the autopsy. Allegheny County cannot make public the autopsy. You can't make this up. Though great efforts were made, able child could not find any change in Pennsylvania's law regulation that exempts release of Allegheny County autopsies because another county paid for it. Furthermore, the Butler County Coroner will not release the autopsy to anyone other than next of kin, who have remained silent except for the father stating, "I gotta pee," and legal representatives falling back on a single court case, Penn Jersey Advance Inc. versus Grime, 2009. The right to know law in Pennsylvania apparently means nothing. If anyone's surprised that the autopsy is apparently a Commonwealth secret, nothing regarding the physical evidence surrounding this case has been made public. So the Butler County Coroner, who may or may not have a medical, legal, investigative background, and usually is an elected position, has some explaining to do. Able child left messages for an interview with William F. Young III, the Butler County Coroner, but they have not been returned. Okay, because the coroner will not take our questions, we'll make them public. Maybe somebody can provide some answers. First, according to the July 17, 2024 article in the Butler Eagle newspaper by Eddie Treza, the Butler County Coroner William F. Young III was unable to obtain the campaign rally for former President Trump on Saturday, July 13th, because of other engagements, but he found himself at the Butler Farm showgrounds after midnight Sunday to examine the victim who was shot at the rally. The article points out that the coroner and another deputy later returned after 6 a.m. to the American Glass Research International building, where he climbed onto the roof to confirm the death of Thomas Matthew Crooks. Really? The coroner's deputy returned after 6 a.m. to the AGR building, where he climbed onto the roof to confirm the death? That's odd, leaving one to wonder about many things. First, assuming no one moved the body of the alleged shooter, chain of custody things, that means the body laid on the AGR building roof from when it was shot, 6:30-ish p.m., July 13th, until 12 hours later at 6 a.m.-ish on July 14th. Did the coroner get instructions to come back to the crime scene the next morning? By whom? The FBI and the Secret Service? Why? What was going on at the crime scene, and the coroner was denied access to the crime scene and the victim's body? Plus, the coroner released the death certificate testifying that he identified and determined the cause of death on the 13th day of July. That may not be true because he returned to the crime scene at 6 a.m. on July 14th. Further, if the body laid on the AGR building roof all night, what law enforcement entity would have been tasked with securing the building? Please don't say the Secret Service or the FBI. Seriously, this is all about chain of custody. Certainly the body of the alleged would-be assassin did not remain on the roof all night without some law enforcement security. We need to know who that was. Next, given that the alleged assassin did not have any identification on his person, by what means did the coroner identify the body? Further, the FBI has announced that it identified the alleged weapon used in the shooting by serial number. When the coroner climbed on the roof at 6 a.m., was the weapon still on the roof, undisturbed, and parts of the crime scene? Did the coroner take photographs of the body on the roof on the crime scene? Finally, there are photographs of the FBI personnel hosing off the roof of the AGR building. Did the coroner request the FBI to take this action? If so, why would the coroner request the investigative body to remove evidence from a crime scene it was investigating? This seems odd. Was there any other outside entity available to the coroner? Naturally, there are many questions about the coroner's actions regarding the crime scene, but Abel Child is interested in knowing the results of the autopsy to rule out any mental health medications that may have been in the alleged shooter's system at the time of death. Too often, these killers have been medicated with serious psychiatric mind-altering drugs. Well, yeah, he was. He's an MK Ultra graduate. While the FBI reports the alleged shooter was not suffering from mental illness or being medicated, the autopsy toxicology reports would put the matter to bed. Well, that's really not true because the toxicology reports, they take quite a while. Well, I guess by now they'd have them. Clearly, there were numerous failures on July 13th. Must the failure to provide the public with important physical evidence about the alleged shooter be added to those failures? The public needs to know whether a projectile was removed from the body of the alleged shooter, and did the projectile match the reported sniper's weapon? Is the wound to the alleged victim's head indicative of the alleged trajectory of the sniper's bullet? These are basic questions that may be answered by the autopsy results or not. Either way, the public has a right to know. Pass it along, folks. I can't do this alone, and nobody does for you what I do. Do they?